this locomotive you see right here was very different when it was first constructed. There was tons and tons of operations that went into this. Now, we're gonna have a look back at the amazing history that this Lego locomotive went through, and what it looked like before, and how it got to the stage of what it looks like now. So strap in and get ready for this amazing historical event, where we have a look back of the history of this amazing Lego locomotive. So, the reason why I wanted to build a steam locomotive was because my dad is also interested in steam locomotives as well. It was one time when I was on Lego Digital Designer, I finished constructing the Bulldog, and then I decided, why don't I try and create this steam locomotive? I found a locomotive, and it turns out it was the R-Class. I looked at it and said, this would definitely be an interesting build to do. So I had a go at it, and it didn't go so well at first. The connecting rods were very difficult with my limited amount of experience I've had building locomotives. It was my first steam engine ever built, and of course you would expect it not to look good. And that was exactly the case. The R-Class did not look nearly as good at what it looks like now. So, after I finished constructing it on Lego Digital Designer, which took about a week or two I reckon, I was finally able to build it. But then we ran into another issue. The boiler did not exist, because since I had limited experience on building steam locomotives, I had no idea you could build a type of boiler design that you see on the R-Class right now. So for a long amount of time, the boiler has not been round. Only the front was round because I had to do a little bit of research. There's one stage when I looked on the Emerald Knights instructions and I saw that they had an amazing round boiler. I checked out how they managed to do that, and I actually found out how to do that. After that, my hope rised that we could build this locomotive after all. But my next concern was, how the heck am I going to get detail attached to a fully round boiler? So at that time I wasn't thinking about that, and it just remained, I can't have like square/circle boiler, if you remember the old design of the R-Class. You probably see a picture of that R-Class appearing on the screen probably right now. So, yeah, did not look good at all, and for a long time that R-Class has remained to have that boiler. It only took a few more operations before I finally decided to change it in 2021. But hey, that's a little bit too far ahead. Let's travel just a little bit more back and figure out the building process in real life. The building process in real life was quite fun. Unfortunately, those photos of the construction from the beginning to the end of the R-Class's old design is lost because it was on my iPod, and my iPod is dead. It no longer works as far as I can tell. See if I can find it for you. There we go. Yes, I know it's got a purple case because it used to be Hannah's old one. This iPod is completely dead, but on this iPod it contains all the photos of my original R-Class locomotive, as well as some very old photos of my trains. And back then I did not have many trains at all. Probably the total was about 4, I reckon. Today's total, if you're wondering, is actually 21 actually, including those 2 carriages that I really never showed, the barn and the coal, which get that up to 21. So yeah, I definitely went through all that, and the R-Class finally got its wheels on after a painstaking long wait for those wheels to arrive. At the time, I was so excited, but when the wheels were finally attached, it just looked like a massive truck on wheels. And I did not like that at all. It looks nothing like a train. It didn't give me any R-Class vibes. And that's when the struggle of the R-Class began. So, earlier in 2019, the R-Class locomotive was suffering big time with looks. The locomotive wasn't looking good at all. There were very few good lightings as well. But despite the fact that the R-Class looked quite appalling or ugly at the time, the locomotive actually managed to make it to the Victorian Railway's Facebook, which was so cool because we went on a train trip that day. It was kind of boring. Why? Because the windows couldn't open, which was very unfortunate. But hey, I still had fun on that train trip. And then out of nowhere, one of the steam rail people saw my R-Class and they said, "Is that a steam rail locomotive?" Like, they were so amazed. Like, they had no idea anyone was building their kind of trains, which was really cool. And the R-Class locomotive got so much love that day, it managed to make it to the Facebook page. And even I am on there as well. Obviously, if you were to go on there, you would have to search back through a ton, because it happened at least 2 years ago, I reckon. Almost 3 years ago now. So, yeah, unless you really want to do that, then go ahead do that, but you don't have to. I wouldn't recommend it either, because that's going to take a ton of time to get all the way back to 2019. But yeah, the R-Class got so much love that day, and it was amazing. A few iterations later, after lowering the R-Class down, it finally came to 2021. Because in 2020, the R-Class mostly remained the same. It was when I created my YouTube channel as well. Late November. So, about early 2021, March, I'd say, March 2nd or 3rd, I don't remember which date it was. I probably have it on my iPad, so you can check out that date. I might put the date in as well. But yeah, well, it was when I finally decided to change the locomotive for the better. So, this upgradation was going to change the R-Class hugely. It changed the entire back bogie to a nicer looking model. It also changed the boiler to a fully round boiler, which you can currently see right now. If you have a look here, it's fully round boiler and it looks beautiful. I love it. As well as it getting a tender upgraded, lowered down by one little skinny. The locomotive was lowered down by quite a few skinnies. I think at least a brick, I'd say. And yeah, after that, the R-Class finally started to look the way I wanted it to look. It gave me R-Class vibes after all that time. It finally looks like the locomotive I wanted it to look like. And on just a few minor nitpicks, upgradations like adding that bottom detail near the big drive wheels, that was never there. Adding a bar on that piece there as well, that was never there either. As well as upgrading, making the cab a lot more shorter, making it more harsh to a slightly gentle curve on the roof, as well as editing one of the domes on the top of the boiler, as you can see, and adding minifigure hands to the very front of the locomotive, as you can see right there. And of course, the brand new upgradation, adding actual working pistons that go in and out connecting to the drive wheels. That was one of the best upgradations ever. And then we get to today. So there you have it. That is the history of this amazing Lego locomotive. Why I decided to build it was because I wanted to have a Lego steam locomotive in my collection. Slash, Dad also wanted to have a Lego locomotive as well. In steam form. So yeah, there you have it. And the final thing I got to show you is, so you know, if you've had a Lego model sitting on your shelf for so long, it starts to gather dust, and that gets annoying. At the moment, the R-Class has a little bit of dust on it because I just dusted it off yesterday, or maybe about 2 days ago. And yeah, it might get annoying. So some people use like blow stuff, but I'm telling you now, don't use that. Because if you do that, you're just going to make the dust settle back down on the model. It's not really going to keep it a long time dust. So what I use to dust my Lego locomotives is this little brush. So you see this brush here? All I got to do is just brush all over it, and it gets rid of most of the dust. So let's go to the tender, for example. You see there's quite a bit of dust on that? Watch this. Just look at that dust just disappearing. And then if you can get to those nooks and crannies. Nooks, yeah. And now you can see what used to look like a dusty tender now looks nice and shiny. And to just clean the brush, you just blow out the dust or wash it with water if you want, and it'll be ready to be used again. You just do that throughout the entire model, and the dust just removes itself so much more easier. I used to use my fingers to do this, but I don't anymore after finding this. So yeah, that's basically how I dust up my Lego locomotive, if you're wondering. And there you can see, we got a nice kind of dust-free surface. Much better. So yeah, that's what that brush was there for, if you guys were wondering. So I hope you have all enjoyed this little history look back of the history of this amazing Lego locomotive. That was the very first steam loco in my entire collection. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys all next time. Bye! And now, please enjoy some photos of the old R-Class to the new.